אנחנו נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך, והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות היא ארצנו, כי אל פועי ישועתה, ובנו בחרת מכוח ולשון, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול, סלע באמת, להודות לך וליחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך וקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, והיה עם שמות תשמעו. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת להם ויעשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורתם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, וראיתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תסגרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Bottom page 156. לדור ודור קיים ושמו קיים וכיסו נכון מלכותו ומנתו לעד קיימת. ודברך. אמת שאתו אדוני אלוהינו ולבתנו מלכנו מלך אבותינו גואלנו גואל אבותינו יוצרנו צור ישתנו פודנו מצילנו מעולם שמך, אין אלוהים זולתך, עזרת אבותינו אתה מעולם. רם ונישא גדול ונורא משפיל גאים מגביה השפלים מוציא אסירים פוד ענבים ועוז דלים V'on eliamo b'yed shavam elav Tehilot le'elad yon brachim brach Moshe umiyam uvenei Yisrael achanishira b'simcha rabba V'yameru chulam mi chamocha Bo'elim Adonai mi kamocha Nedor b'kodesh Nora tehilot O seifele Shira chadasha Shibechu geulim Shimcha asafat hayam Yachad kulam odu V'himlichu v'yameru Adonai yimloch Leolam voed Tzur Yisrael Kuma b'Ezrat Yisrael Uvtechinu mecha Yehuda v'Yisrael Go aleinu Adonai Tzavot Shemo Kedosh Yisrael Baruch Atah Adonai Ka'al Yisrael. We continue with the Shabbat morning Amidah, beginning on page 159. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Ve'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Ve'Elohei Leah El HaGadol HaGibor VaHaNorah El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim Ve'Konei HaKol V'zocher chastei havot U'mevigu elivnei v'neihem L'man shebo b'yava Melech ozer Faked Mashiach Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Mefaked Sarah Atah gibor le'lam Adonai Mechayem etimat Rab lo shia Mashiv haruach Merid HaGashem Mechalkeo chayim bechesed, Mechaye meitim berachamim rabim, Samech noflim v'rofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayim emunato, Lishenei afar, Micham malcham bal giburot, Umidom melach, Melech Mimit Mechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua V'nemhan Atalach Hayot Meitim Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh HaMeitim Nikadesh et Shimecha ba'olam K'shem shemakti shimoto mishmei marom Ka'keduv bayad neviecha V'kavazeh el zeh v'yamar Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzavaot, Malach ha'aretz kevodo. Ahaz b'kol rash gadol, Adiv chazak ha'mashmim ko, Mitnasim l'matzrafim, Nimatam baruch yomeru, Baruch Adonai mimkomo. Mimekomecha malkeinu tofia, Mimekomecha malkeinu tofia, V'timloch aleinu, V'timloch aleinu, Ki mechakim anachnu lach, Matai timloch b'tzion, B'karov b'yameinu, Le'olam navoed, Tishkom, Titgadal, V'titgadash, B'toch Yerushalayim Mirecha, Le'dor v'ador, Olenetzach netzachim, Ve'eneinu tirena malechutecha, Kadavar ha'amur b'shirei Al Gedei Yedei David Mashiach Tzidkecha Yimloch Adonai Lelam Elohai Etzion Ledor Vador Hallelujah Ledor Vador Nagid Godlecha Olenetzach Netzachim Kedushak Denakdish V'shivachach Mipino Lemush Lelam Bohet Ki Amalek Adov Kadosh Ata Bruchat Adonai Hoy Lakadosh. And we will now transition to our virtual Torah service, page 168. When we get to the middle of the page and the ark is open, then you may rise. Ein kamocha va'Elohim Adonai v'ein kamasecha malchutecha malchut kol olamim umemshaltecha bechodor v'ador Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai imloch leolam voed Adonai oz li'amo yitein Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom av harachamim heitiv avirtzoncha et Sion tivnech omot Yerushalayim Tivnech omot Yerushalayim Ki vecha levad batachnu Melech Evam Venisa Adonai Olamim Vayehi B'nso Aharon Vayomer Moshe misanecha nipanecha ki mitzion tetzei Torah ki mitzion tetzei Torah udavar Adonai mirushalayim baruch shenatan Torah Torah baruch shenatan Torah Torah Yamo Yisrael b'kedushato Barich Shemei Demavi on page 170. Be'anarachet velishmei kadisha yakira anahem martush bechan be'anarachet velishmei kadisha yakira anahem martush bechan yehirava kadamach tetibtach libi bi'orayeta v'tashlim meshalim telibi v'libodech olamach Yisrael letavul chayim v'lishlam. Amen. 171. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo.
Adlul Adonai Ramama Shemo Yachtav Lecha Adonai Agedula V'Hagevura V'Atiferet V'Hanetzach V'Hahod Kicho B'Shamayim Uvaretz Kicho B'Shamayim Uvaretz Lecho Adonai Hamamlacha V'Amid Na'aseh Lecho L'Rosh Ramemu Ramemu Adonai Eloheinu V'Hishtachavu Lahadam Raglav Kadoshu Ramemu Ramemu Adonai Eloheinu V'Hishtachavu Ahar Kadsho Lehar Kadsho Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. You may be seated, and I need to go get something that I forgot. Sorry about that. Right.
Well, this is the time when you bring the stray cats in the synagogue when you're in Israel. No, no, and that's when they sacrifice them. Huh? We don't do it. You can't do it if you're not in Israel. Yeah. Yeah, and you gotta skin them. And you make carpet up there. Yep. Plus, for the rabbi, we're gonna do over there, but it feels good for the feet.
We begin the second book of the Torah this weekend, the book of Shemot. In Hebrew, it's called Shemot. English, we call it Exodus. The Hebrew names are not really thematic. They're usually picked, in this case, from the second word of the entire book, which is called Shemot. And so Exodus 1:1. ואלה שמות בני ישראל הבאים מצרימה את יעקב איש ביתו באו ראובן שמעון לוי ויהודה יששכר זבולון ובנימין דן ונפתלי גד ואשר ויהי כל נפש יוצאי ירך יעקב 70 נפש ויוסף היה במצרים ויעמוד יוסף אל אחיו וכל אחיו וכל הדור ההוא ובני ישראל פרו וישחצו וירבו ויעצמו במאוד מאוד ותמלא הארץ אותם. It's a very interesting beginning for this book. Ve'ele. And these, Shemot, the Bnei Israel, these are the names of the children of Israel. Haba'im Mitzrayah, that came down to Egypt, towards Egypt. Et Yaakov, with Jacob. Ish uveito ba'u, and his entire family and his household. And this is who they are. Reuven, Shimon, Reuben and Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, tribe of Levi, Judah, Yissachar, Zvulun, Binyamin, Yissachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher. Vayehi Kol Nefesh, and all of the souls, Yotzei Yerech Yaakov, that came from the loins of Jacob, were Shivim Nafesh, were 70 souls. V'Yosef haya b'Mitzrayim, but Joseph was already in Egypt, so he's not counted among the 70. He's already there. Vayamot Yosef v'chol echav, and Joseph died, and all of his brothers. V'chol hadorahu, and that entire generation. Uvnei Yisrael, and the children of Israel, paru vayishchotzu vayirbu vayatzmu be'amod ma'od vatimalei ha'aretz otam. It's a very interesting characterization of the children of Israel and how many they were. It says the children of Israel were fertile, Peru, prolific, vayishchotzu. That's a sheretz, is a term we use when bugs replicate. Okay, they sheretz, they filtered the earth. They multiplied, it increased very greatly, so that the land was filled with them. So, and Rashi makes a comment, and his comment on these 6 verbs, by the way. Verbs are action words, right? He has 6 verbs that basically they all multiply on top of the other. And Rashi says that the Israelite women all gave birth to 6 tuplets, and nobody miscarried. Okay, now, that is a really strange comment. Okay, what the heck would Rashi have that to comment on? Why would he say that? Because they came down, they were only 70. At the beginning of the Exodus, okay, which is 250, 400 years later, and at the tally, the first census that was taken, the Israelites were 603,550. That's fighting men, so there was over 4 million of them. How do you go from 70 to 4 million? Rashi says all the women gave birth to sextuplets, and nobody miscarried. And that's how he got to that number. Interesting. It's just a fascinating comment. But it's all a setup of what's going to happen. There's a reason why there's a reason why there's a lot of them, but what happens next is a consequence of there being a lot of them. And in the in Exodus chapter 8, verse 1. Vayakam melech hadash al Mitzrayim asher lo yada et Yosef. Vayomer el amho hinei am ben Israel rav atzum mimenu. Havanit chakma lo pen yirbe vaya tia tikeren milchama v'nosaf gam hu al soneinu v'nilcham banu v'ala min haaretz vayasimu alav sarei misim למעננותו בסבלותם ויבן ערי מסכנות לפרעה את פתאום ואת רמסס וכאשר יענו אותו כן ירבה וכן יפרוץ ויקוצו מפני בני ישראל. Sorry, I didn't mean chapter 8. I meant this is chapter 1, verse 8. Sorry. It says, Vayakam melech hadash al Mitzrayim, and there arose a new king over Egypt, Asher lo yada et Yosef, that did not know Joseph. That's really strange, right? Because Joseph was the number 2 in Egypt. He saved all of the people, the entire country, from a famine. It's hard to understand how a king could all of a sudden be crowned a new pharaoh that did not know Joseph. But if he looked out and saw how many there were, maybe he feared them and he didn't want to know who Joseph was. Vayomer, so he said to his people, Hine, behold, Am b'nei Israel, behold, the people of the children of Israel. Rav atzum mimenu, there are a lot of them. Hava nitchakma lo, let us be wise with them. Let us deal shrewdly with them. Pen yirbeh, lest they increase. Vahaya, and it comes to be tikrena milchama, if we come into a war, v'nosaf gam hu al soneinu, that they would add to our enemies. They would join against our enemies. V'nilcham banu, and then they will fight us, v'Allah, and they will defeat us, v'Allah min hearts, and then they will go up from the land. They will leave. Vayasimu alav sarei misim. So what did he do? He put upon them sarei, officers, misim. We call this taskmasters. Interesting, the word misim actually means tax. They put tax collectors, no. They put taskmasters over them. Leman anotel b'sivlotam, in order for them to be enslaved. And what did they do as slaves? Vayiven, they built are, cities, miskanot, lepharaoh, store cities for Pharaoh, et Pitom, viet Ramses. Okay? And these are names that we know from archaeology, right? Pitom and Ramses, right directly from the text of the Torah. It mentions this. V'chasher yanu oto, and when hold on 1 second. Oh, there we go. But it says, but when they were oppressed, they increased even more. And it uses that word again, yifrots, peretz. They proliferated. Vayakutsu mipnei And so the Egyptians came to dread the Israelites for simply being a lot of them. That was it. Okay? Do one more, and just 1 second. Yeah. Exodus chapter 1, verse 13. V'avidu Mitzrayim et b'nei Yisrael b'farech, v'yamaru et chayehem ba'avodah kasha, b'chomer u'vilvenim u'v'chol avodah basadeh, et kol avodatam asher avadu avahem b'farech. V'yomer melech Mitzrayim lam yaldot ha'ivriot asher שם האחד שפרה ושם השני פועה. ויום ילדכן את העבריות אור ייתן על האובניים. אם בן הוא ומיתם אותו ואם באתי וחיה. ותראינה ילדות את האלוהים ולא עשו כאשר דיבר עליהם מלך מצרים. ותחיינה את הילדים. V'avidu Mitzrayim, and the Egyptians made servants out of them at all of the children of Israel ruthlessly. And then he used the words v'yimaruru. We know that word, maror, for bitter herbs. And it was bitter. Their slavery was bitter. Et chayehim, that it embittered their lives. Ba'avodah kasha, with hard work. B'choner uvilvenim, and they had to labor at mortar and bricks. V'chol avodah basadeh, with all sorts of labors in the field. Et kol avodatam, and all of their endeavors, all their work. Asher avdu vahem b'farech, where how does it translate there? It was done ruthlessly. Okay. So it was just as it wasn't just enslaved. The Egyptians were ruthless. And their aim was to stop their reproduction. And it didn't work. Okay? By enslaving them didn't work. So now Pharaoh has another idea. And the king of Egypt said to the Lam Yaldot Ivriot, to the Hebrew midwives, and the first one was named Shifra, and the second was named Pua. So the Hebrew midwives were Shifra and Pua. And he said to them, when the Hebrews give birth, and you look upon the ovnaim, upon the stone, upon the birth stool, if it is a boy, he shall be put to death, and if it's a girl, she can live. And the midwives were God-fearers. They feared God, and they didn't do what Pharaoh asked. When the king of Egypt asked them, why did you let the children live? And the king of Egypt, he called the midwives and he said to them, why did you do this? Why did you let the children live? And they said, the midwives said to Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not like Egyptians. Ki chayotena, they are like beasts, because they give birth to themselves. And because of this, God did good for the midwives, and their people increased very much, and he made homes for them in thanks. And he built for them houses. And then, because that didn't work, Vayitzav Paro and Pharaoh commanded all the people, saying, all of the sons that are born, Hayira Tashlichuhu, and throw them into the Nile, and all of the daughters may live. It's very interesting how there's a progression of enslavement. There's a progression. It's not, hey, there's a lot of these Israelites. Let's just throw all the babies in the Nile. Didn't do that. It was a progression. First he enslaved them. That didn't work. Then he told two people that they should kill the boys and let the women live, let the girls live. That didn't work. Finally, he made the people complicit in enslaving not only enslaving all of the Israelites, but if he kills all of the males, then of course they'll stop reproducing, and that didn't work either. And then it says that a man of the house of Levi went out and got a wife from the house of Levi, and her name is not given in the text, but she is Yocheved, and she had a boy, and she hid him for 3 months, after which she couldn't do it anymore, so she had a tevat made, an ark made. It's the same word as used for Noah's Ark. She had an ark, a basket made. She put the child in the basket, and she floated it in the Nile. And she had her daughter, who's also not named here, of course that's Miriam, stand afar to see what would happen to the child. And of course, Pharaoh's daughter comes down to the Nile to wash and sees the basket. She opens the basket and sees a child. She knows it's a Jewish child because it was circumcised. And she took pity on it. So she took it in, and Moses gets raised in the court. Pharaoh's daughter notices Miriam, and she says to her, go get me a wet nurse from the Hebrews so that this child can feed. And of course, Miriam brings Yocheved, Moses' mother, who nurses him till he's weaned. And then in the next sentence, in the very next scene, Moses all grown. He's 80 years old, actually, as he goes from birth to 80. And then he goes out, it says he goes out to his brothers. We're not sure exactly what that means. Who are his brothers? We don't know that Yocheved told Moses who he was. We don't know. We're not told any of this. We presume he was. And when he says he went out to his brothers, we assume he went out to his Hebrew brothers. But he says he went out to his brethren, and he saw a Hebrew being beaten by an Egyptian, and Moses was incensed by that and beat the Egyptian and killed him. Actually, he said he looked this way, he looked that way, nobody was around. Well, there was somebody around. It was the person that the Egyptian was beating was around, and he killed the Egyptian. He hit him in the sand. Then we go to the next scene. He goes out again, and there's two Hebrews that are fighting, and Moses goes up to them to get them to stop, and one of them says, what, are you going to kill me like you did the Egyptian? Probably was the one that was being beaten by the Egyptian. And Moses then realizes that Pharaoh is after him to kill him, and then he flees, and he goes to Midian. Okay, and then the next scene, he's in Midian, and he comes upon the well of the priest Midian, and he chases away the shepherds that won't let the women folk get water from the well. He chases them away. He brings water to them to feed their sheep and them. And then it says Jethro. He's not called Jethro. Jethro has about 4 different names. In this case, I forgot what his name was, but it's Jethro. Brings Moses into his house and then gives him his oldest daughter to marry. Okay, and then we find that Moses is a shepherd, and then he goes out. One of his sheep is lost, and he goes out and sees this bush that is consumed by fire, but is not being consumed. It's on fire, but is not consumed. He looks upon it. He says he wants to go closer, and then God calls out to him, "Do not come any closer. Do not look upon this, for this is holy land. Take off your shoes." And at that point, Moses bows down to the ground, and then he is called by God to go rescue the Israelites out of slavery. It's a fascinating story. It really, really is a fascinating story. And the text teaches us a lot about hate and what people do with hate and how we can hate and how effective it is. But you can't just hate all of a sudden. It has to be gradual. And once it's set, it's set. So it's a very fascinating story. Offer Mishaberach for healing. Mishaberach Avotein Avram Yitzchak Yaakov Sarvka Rachel V'Leah Hu Yivrech et Helen Byrne, Marjorie Allen, Charles Miller, Marcia Orange, Leon Kapwaner, Lynn Shaw, Ruck Bentley Sheva, Abigail Greenberg, Kay Bully, Ginny Meisler, Deanna Barber, Susie Bierman, Elizabeth Fomby, Elisheva Batzar, Sandek, Malka Amster, Betty Ehrlich, Michelle Zucker, Davina Machado, Stephen Hirschman, Taraz Bat Ruth, Marcia Hudson, Billy Canary, Taylor Browning, Gerald Leibovitz, Bert.
Ann Bone, Doug Shavar.
For Diane Morrick, as well as Jose Luis Dizzy.
Okay, oops. Ephraim Avraham ben Esther Batcha, Sarshatan bat Nami Rivka, Yael bat Nami Rivka, Gittel Tamar bat Miriam, and Noah Baron. Viet kolachim bikila kadosha Agudath Israel Etz Ahayem v'kilenta bobethor kadosh bochim alei rachamim aleihem lachizcham chabatam vishlach leim or shleim menashmat nefesh v'dakov b'toch sha'achalei shabati mlizak urfola karava lava shabagalav zman kari v'nomar amen. And I wish all of those suffering a refuah shlema. May you have a quick and complete healing. We now rise to return the Sefer Torah, page 183. Hallelujah, Shem Adonai, ki nizkav shemo levado, odu al eretz v'shamayim, vayaren keren le'amo, tihila lecho, chasidav, livnei Yisrael am karovo. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, Mizmor LeDavid, Havu Ladonai B'nei Elim, Havu Ladonai Kavod Vos, Havu Ladonai Kavod Shemo, Ishtachavu Ladonai Be'adhot Kodesh, Kol Adonai Al Hamayim, El Kavod Hilim Adonai Al Mayim Rabim, Kol Adonai Ba'koach, Kol Adonai Be'adar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, Vaishaber Adonai et alzei halvanon. Vayarkidem kemo egel, Lebanon v'Sirion kemo ben reimim. Kol Adonai chotzev lavotesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yecholel ayalov, Vayechesop yahavot, Uvehechalo kolo merkavod, Adonai lamabul yashav, Yeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz le'amo yiten, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom, uvnucho yomar, page 184. Ki lekach tov natati lachem torati al tazovu, Etz Ahayem lamachazikim ba, V'tomcheha meyushar dirachea, darchei noam, v'chol netivoteha shalom. Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva, Chadesh, Chadesh Ameinu, Chadesh Ameinu, Kikedem. Well, we're going to go right into Musaf, so remain standing. Sorry. Page 185. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avuteinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, El HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanura, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Ya'avim v'Konei Yaakov, v'Zocher Chastei Avot, Umevigo elifnei b'neihem l'man shemo b'yahava, Melech Ozer Poked Mashiach Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham, Ufukei Tzaraham, Atah Gibor Le'lam Adonai, V'chayei metim HaTorah L'Oshia, Mashiva Ruach Marid Agashem, Mechtakel Chayim B'chesed, Mechayei metim berachamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rofei cholim, Umatir asurin, Umakayem emunato l'shenei afar, Michamochem b'gevurot, Umidom melach, Melech mimit umechayem, Matzniach Yeshua, V'nemanat alachayot meitim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hametim, Na'aritzecha v'na'akadishcha, Kisot siyach tzarfei kodesh, Hamakdishim shimcha b'kodesh, Kakatuv hayad neviyacha, V'kara zeh v'yamar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzavot, Melech ha'aretz kevodo, Kevodo malei olam mishartov sholim zeh lazeh, Hayem mekom kevodo, Limatam baruch yomeru, Baruch Adonai minkomo, Minkomo v'yifen barachim yachadim shemo, Erev avoke b'chol yom tamhid, Pamahim v'yavashma omerim, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. echad. Hu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Mosheinu, Hu Yashmin Barachamav Shenit, Le'enei Kol Chai Liot Lachem Le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, U'v'divrei Kodeshecha Katuv Lemor, Yimloch Adonai Le'elam, Elohayich Zion Lador Vador, Hallelujah. Lador Vador Nagid, God Lecha, Olenetzach Nitzachim, Kedushak Denakdish, V'shivachach V'kinu Lo Yemush Le'elam Bohed, Ki Amelech Adova Kadosh Ata Brachata Adonai, Hoi Lakadosh. And we continue with Ein Keloheinu, page 204. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kimokenu, Ein Kemoshienu, Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kimokenu, Ein Kemoshienu, Mi Keloheinu, Mi Kadonenu, Mi Kemokenu, Mi Chemoshienu, En Keloheinu, En Kadonenu, En Kemokenu, En Kemoshienu, No de Leloheinu, No de Ladonenu, No de Lemokenu, No de Lemoshienu, En Keloheinu, En Kadonenu, En Kemokenu, En Kemoshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, En Keloheinu, En Kadonenu, En Malkeinu, En Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, and Keloheinu, and Kadunenu, and Kim Malkeinu, and Kimoshienu, Atahu Shektiru, Avoteinu lefanecha, Et Ketoret Hasamim, and Keloheinu, and Kadonenu, and Kimokenu, and Kimoshienu. We rise for Aleinu, page 205. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kagoye haratzot, V'lo samanu kamishmachot hadama, shelo sam chalkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, l'fnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu, shehu notei shamayim v'yosed haaretz, u'moshe v'yikarel b'shamayim imam, Shchinatu zo, b'gave meromim, Hu Eloheinu einod, emet malkeinu evezulato, kakatu b'torato, v'yadat hayom hashivota elavavecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim, Hashamayim mimal, v'yal haaretz mitachat, ein od ahokin oreinu li'omeinu. Kagadu b'toratech Adonai loch lilam bo'ed v'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom mahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. May be seated. This week, we will observe yard sites for Hobby Freeling, Felice Cohen, Mallory Golson, Sigmund Lang, Sarah Cohn, Buddy Kallick, Jerry McManama Jr., Ray Schwartz-Mirsky, Meyer Oberstein, Pauline Oberstein, Jack Silverman, Esther Kermish-Goldstein, Helen Held, Anna Steinberg, Marjorie Aronov, David Franco, Dan Blitz, George Thomas Feld, and Ben Goldsman. Those observing yard site, the those who mourn, please rise. Page 207 for the Kaddish Tome, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yomad divra chirutei, v'yamlech malchutei, v'chayichon v'yimechon, v'chayedecho beit Yisrael, Bagalav Izman Kariv Yimaru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach Lelam Omel Maya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitba'ar V'yithomam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitalev V'yitalal Shmei Kudusha Barichu Leilam Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbachata V'nechamata Da'amiran V'yoma V'yimaru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'maru amen. Oseh shalom b'mamav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'maru amen. May be seated. Thank you for joining me. I'm sorry I cut the service a little short. My voice is actually giving out for some reason. I don't know. Must be the cold air. I'm not sure. I apologize for that. We will celebrate the end of Shabbat tonight via Zoom with the Alabama Community Virtual Havdalah, as you all know, and I'm sure you all participate. So Let's see, Bert, are you aware of the Federation event at the Shakespeare?
Mhm.
Okay. Did you get tickets?
No.
Okay, got to get tickets.
Gotta get tickets.
And you guys know about it, so I don't need to repeat all of that. Bert, did you sign up for the schmooze? February 2nd?
Oh.
You need to go do that, okay? All right. And you guys can go too if you want. Waiting for, oh, Stephen, sign up. It's really a lot of fun. It's really, and you can't beat the price.
No.
We're all gonna, we're gonna try and drive up together on Thursday night, actually. We're gonna stay an extra night. Cause Gerald's gonna drive up. We might have to take, if there's a lot of us, we might have to take 2 cars. Wouldn't that be great? A caravan. What's that? So, but please, you have to go online and register. If you have trouble with that, I'll give you Rachel Harmon's phone number, and a lot of times their website is pretty crappy. So, and she'll just register you in person. Anyway, there's 50% discount, so it's less than $100 per person. You can't beat it, and it is so much fun. Bert, is it fun?
It's a blast.
It's a blast. There you go. And they cap it off at about, I don't think we're gonna have 50 people. I think they cap it at 50, but we had 35 the first year. I think we had 30 last year. And I don't know what we're gonna have. I think they have 15 set for this year. I'm sure it'll be more than that, obviously, because Bert hasn't signed up, and I'm gotta get more people. It's 3 of you, hopefully. So.
You know, they still have have to have your immune or test.
I don't know what their requirements for COVID are. I don't think they have. I think the last time I went, I'm not sure if we had to have a test or not. So, but.
I used your test anyway.
What's that?
I said I used your test.
That's, yeah, let's not talk about that, Bert. So anyway, but it really is gonna be a blast. So I will be here, excuse me, next week, and then I'm going on a cruise. I won't be here the following week, but Cantor Schwartz will be here. Yeah. Anyway, so we're gonna finish our service, page 211. Adon olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'ed nasa v'chefso kol azay melech shemo nikra azay melech shemo nikra v'yacharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu oveh V'hu yiyeh b'tifara, v'hu yiyeh b'tifara, v'hu echad v'yein sheni, shelo lehachbila, v'li reishi tachlit, v'lo ha'oz v'hamisra, v'lo ha'oz v'hamisra, v'hu eli v'chai go'ali, v'tzor chevli b'yetzara, Vehu nisi umanosli minhat kosi biyom mekra minhat kosi biyom mekra biyado afkid ruchi biyet ishan v'yaira v'imaruchi geviyati Adonai li v'lo ira Adonai li